All right, today we're going to dig into a bit of history. And I mean that literally. We're talking about a simple tool, really just a piece of wood, that completely reshaped the world. It actually helped give birth to the very first cities. It's an amazing story, so let's get into it. So think about it. How could a simple wooden stick, literally a stick, change the entire course of human history? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. This one invention, you guys, laid the groundwork for civilization as we know it. No exaggeration. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about what this history-changing stick actually is. Then, we'll rewind to see what the world was like before it. We'll look at its secret power-up, and then connect all the dots to how it fueled the first cities. And finally, we'll look at the bigger picture, the legacy of simple tools.
All right, section 1. So what was this revolutionary tool? Well, the hero of our story today is a very early, very primitive plow, and it's called the ard. You know, the thing about the ard is just how simple it was. I mean, we're not talking about anything high-tech here. Based on evidence we have from ancient places like Uruk, it was really just a glorified wooden stick. Its whole job was to scratch shallow lines in the soil. It didn't dig deep or anything, it just made these little furrows so you could plant seeds in neat rows. Super simple.
And that right there is the key. It's so easy for us to look back and think, that's it? But you can't judge it by our standards. For people back then, going from digging sticks and hoes to even this simple scratch plow, oh, that was a huge leap forward, a total game changer in terms of efficiency.
Okay, so to really get why the ard was such a big deal, let's just take a second and imagine what life was like before it. Think about trying to prepare a whole field for crops using nothing but hand tools. Just you, a stick, or a hoe. It would be absolutely exhausting, right? Slow, painful, back-breaking work.
And wow, this really shows you the difference. On one hand, you've got farming by hand. It's grueling, you can only manage these tiny little plots of land, and progress is just so slow. But then, you bring in the art. Suddenly, you're using animal power, you're moving way faster, and you can farm much, much larger fields. I mean, it's a night and day difference.
Right. And this invention didn't just happen in a vacuum. It happened because it had to happen. You've got villages growing into towns, towns growing into the first cities, and all these people need to eat. The pressure was on. The old ways of farming, just using hand tools, well, they just weren't cutting it anymore. They couldn't keep up.
So, this brings us to the power-up. What was the secret sauce that made the ard so incredibly effective? Because here's the thing. The tool itself was only part of the equation. The real magic happened when you connected it to something else.
And there it is, the secret ingredient. Animals. By hitching the ard to draft animals, like oxen, a farmer could suddenly tap into a power source that was way stronger than their own body. That combination, the simple tool plus animal muscle, that was the real technological revolution.
And just look at what this did for productivity. It's kind of stunning when you see it laid out like this. A farmer with a simple hoe could do a certain amount in a day. But a farmer with an ard and an ox? Whoa. They could prepare so much more land in the same amount of time. We're talking a massive, massive jump in how much work one person could get done.
And the knock-on effect is pretty straightforward, but it's incredibly powerful. If you can prepare more land, you can plant more seeds. If you plant more seeds, you get a bigger harvest. And a bigger harvest means, you guessed it, more food.
Okay, so this is where the story gets even bigger. Because all this extra food wasn't just about making life easier for farmers. No, it was the fuel for something brand new on the human landscape, cities. We're talking large, complex, permanent cities. And a perfect example of this is the ancient city of Uruk, over in Mesopotamia, what's modern-day Iraq. I mean, way back in the 4th millennium BCE, Uruk was the place to be. It was a massive, bustling city, a hub for trade, government, religion, you name it. It was really one of the first great cities on Earth. But here's the thing about a city like Uruk. Think about who lives there. You've got priests, officials, artisans making pottery, builders putting up temples, traders. None of these people are out in the fields growing their own food, right? So for a city to even exist, you need farmers in the countryside who are growing way more food than they need for themselves. You need a surplus to feed everybody else. And this is the chain reaction right here. It all starts with the odd. Step 1, the odd lets you prepare more land. Step 2, that means farmers can grow a surplus of food. Step 3, that extra food can now feed all the people who aren't farmers.
And boom, step 4, now you can have cities, with all these different specialized jobs. This simple little plow is literally a foundation stone of civilization.
Yeah, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Civilization rests on food, and food rests on agriculture. It's so true. All the stuff we think of as civilization, giant temples, writing systems, complex governments, none of that is possible if people are worried about where their next meal is coming from. It's all built on a foundation of farming.
All right, so let's zoom out and think about the legacy here. Why are we talking about a simple wooden plow from thousands of years ago? What's the big takeaway for us today? Well, first off, it's really important to remember that the ard was far from perfect. It definitely had its weaknesses. It wasn't great in really tough, hard-packed soil, and it didn't really turn the soil over like a modern plow does. But that's a great lesson, isn't it? A tool doesn't have to be perfect to be a huge success.
And you can really see its place in the grand scheme of things here. Before the ard, you had digging sticks and hoes. After the ard, you eventually get these heavier, more complex plows. And way down the line, you get tractors. The ard was that crucial middle step. It shows you that technology doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It evolves, step by step.
And I think this is probably the biggest takeaway for me. We learn about history as this big story of kings and queens and wars and empires, and that's all important for sure. But sometimes the things that really shape history are the humble, everyday tools that completely change how normal people live their lives.
So let's just recap what we've learned. Number 1, a simple tool can solve a huge problem. 2, technology usually moves forward in these small, gradual steps. 3, all our complex societies are built on the back of practical innovations like this. The road to our world today, in a very real way, ran right through a plowed field.
I mean, the proof is right there in how long it lasted. Different versions of the ard were used for thousands of years all over the world. And why? Because it worked. It was the right tool for the job, it fit the environment, and it solved a real fundamental problem for people. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on, doesn't it? History is just packed with these humble tools that changed everything. So, what are they today? What are the simple, almost overlooked innovations happening right now that are quietly building the world of tomorrow?